They looked at me like I was porcelain, polished, cracked, delicate in that over-careful way people look at someone they think gon' break again. The dining room was too warm, fake roses on the centerpiece warm. My daughter Joylene had made it feel sweet on the surface, pork roast on fine china, cloth napkins she hadn't used since Christmas. But nobody really wanted to touch the food. They were all watching me. I sat at the head of the wooden table that used to be mine, the same chair I'd lost count of holidays in. Felt wrong now, too big. My navy dress clung to my shoulders in a way that made me feel stiff, too formal. My heels were low, but they pinched. Gold bracelet, single chain earrings, twist bun smoothed down, perfect. Nothing loose. Not tonight. Because tonight, I was acting. "Do you remember this stuffing, Mama?" Joylene asked as she passed me a silver baking dish. I blinked slow and soft like fog rolling across a lake. Some of it, not all. The lie slipped out like sugar, like butter melting in a hot pan. And everyone, God, everyone, sighed. Like they'd been holding their breath for weeks and I just handed them permission to relax. "Oh, well, you're here now," said Joylene, fake smile sealed. "That's what matters." Ania, my granddaughter, didn't speak. She just kept stabbing at her peas, one by one, avoiding her mama's eyes and mine. She used to sit close to me at every meal, but tonight she settled in the corner like ash forgotten in a fireplace. My eyes went to Marcus across the table, still in a too-tight suit, like he was about to head to a meeting 7 seconds after dessert. He was pushing his food around with his fork. He didn't even greet me when I came in. No one said it, but the whole table was thinking it. Does she remember what happened to her 5 months ago? I wasn't going to make it easy for them. I dropped my head, smiled just a bit at nothing, and said, "Did I used to make stuffing like this?" Joylene laughed, a little too quick. "Something like it, Mama." I cut a piece. Didn't taste it. Just brought the fork to my mouth while letting my eyes drift around the mahogany-framed room they now called home, my home once. Photos, family, none of me, not in the living room, not on the hall wall. An old woman stitched out of history, and yet here I was, the woman who woke up in a hospital bed with a headache so deep it touched her bones. The one they thought would fade quiet, never ask, never dig. "Where's the scarf?" I said, casual like talking about the weather. Joylene froze. Marcus picked up his glass slow. Their eyes bounced quick like bees trapped against a window pane. "What scarf, Mama?" Joylene asked, slicing brisket like it committed a crime. "The yellow one, the silk one from my dresser. I remembered it this morning." Marcus cleared his throat. Probably lost it, moving around so much after everything. "Yes, everything. The soft way they wrapped betrayal in blankets." "Maybe so," I said, keeping my voice syrupy. Inside, that scarf had been wrapped around a small wooden jewelry box. I'd noticed instantly it wasn't in my bedside drawer when I got back to my house after the hospital release. That box held 3 letters inside. One from my husband, one from a woman named Eliza, one from an estate lawyer 3 years back. But no one in this house needed to know I remembered that. Not yet. Ania was the only one who kept looking at me too long. For a moment our eyes held, long enough to stir something between us. She blinked slow, hesitant. I widened my gaze just a touch. She dropped her spoon. "Oops," she whispered. "Must be my fingers still forgetting stuff." Joylene snapped, "Pick it up properly, baby." I watched Ania bend slow, but her eyes flashed up at me from beneath the table's edge. That look said, "I know you're faking." And baby, that girl was right. Earlier that week, I'd walked this kitchen pretending my legs still failed me. I'd let Marcus drive me to appointments like a fragile grandma. Let Joylene pick my clothes like she still worried I'd forget what pants were. But I remembered everything. I remembered the thump of the stairs, the slam of the hallway door, the voices outside the hospital room 5 months ago when they thought I was still sedated. "He left already," Joylene had whispered. "He said if she forgets, it's for the best," Marcus whispered back. "We'll just say it was the fall, confusion. She doesn't need to know the rest." I hadn't forgotten that. I hadn't forgotten the pain I shouldn't have had if I really just slipped on the basement stairs. What I didn't remember, yet, was what happened right before. The moment before that sharp, white-hot nothing where my memory dipped out. but they'd left enough crumbs for me to track. And tonight I was hungry. I tapped my fork against the plate softly. You all ever wonder what happened to that old generator I used to keep downstairs? The silence came like a sneaky wind, quick, heavy. Marcus shifted, cut his meat too hard. No idea, Ma, he said. We sold a bunch of the old junk when we cleaned out. Cleaned out, I repeated. While I was asleep, huh? Joylene made that clapping laugh sound she does. We were helping, Mama, after your fall, remember? I smiled. Hazy, I whispered, but maybe it'll come back. Then the room turned again. Ania stood up suddenly, said she wasn't hungry. None of them tried to stop her. That child was always invisible when tension rose. I waited 10 seconds. I'm gonna go check in on her, I said. Let her rest, Joylene said quickly. She's a teenager now, Mama. I'm still her grandma, I answered, just enough steel in my voice to remind them who taught Joylene how to boil water and pay bills. They said nothing. I made my way upstairs, slow for effect, my flat shoes silent on carpet. No cane tonight. That was all for downstairs. Her door was cracked, the light low. When I stepped inside, she was sitting on the edge of her bed with her hands folded too neatly, like someone waiting. She told me I couldn't tell you, Ania said immediately, her voice soft and scared. But I didn't. Not really. But I didn't lie either, okay? I sat beside her, lowered myself gentle to the bed. What couldn't you tell me, baby? She looked at her closet. Something she hid, she whispered. After you fell. She said it was dangerous paperwork. Said you'd be upset if you saw it. What did she do with it? She stood up, crossed the room to her closet, shuffled some old shoeboxes, the kind they think kids don't care what's underneath. She pulled out a small envelope, hand-tied with purple yarn. Don't tell her I gave you this, she whispered. She said you'll forget anyway. I held that envelope like it had weight. It didn't feel heavy, but baby, it was. I unfolded the yarn, lifted the flap so slow my hands shook. Not from age this time, but from dread. Inside were 3 slips of folded paper, legal-sized, photocopies. The first one, a power of attorney form. The second, a property transfer document, deed of title, removal of former owner. The third, a note, scrawled in handwriting I recognized instantly. Once she's discharged, start the process. Trigger POA for incapacity. She'll forget any of this, I promise. She won't suspect Joylene at all. Signed, Marcus Jerome, my son, the boy I held through chickenpox, who cried into my shoulder the night his dog died. The man now calling me a problem to solve. I looked up. Ania was trembling. I didn't read it, she said. Not at first, I didn't know he said that. I needed the air. I needed it bad. The rage burned so fast, I almost forgot I was still pretending. Ania, I said, soft and clear. Do me a favor. She nodded. Hide this back for now, exactly where it was. Then go downstairs. Tell your mama I'm tired. Tell her I looked confused. Tell her I asked what year it was. Her eyes widened. You still gonna fake it? I smiled, but it wasn't warm. I'm just getting started. The day Marcus moved me into Joylene's house, the sky was cloudy but dry. The way grief can be sometimes, overcast, but too tired to rain. I was in a wheelchair I didn't need, but couldn't argue against. My ribs were still healing. My knees were stiff. But I walked from the hospital to the car myself that morning. They just didn't want me in control. You just rest, Mama, Joylene said, patting my shoulder like I was glass. Behind me, Marcus loaded one bag into the trunk. Just one. A small zip-up suitcase that held half my life. I told them I wanted to go back to my house. Marcus shook his head. It's not safe right now. The stairs, the clutter. You need to rest where we can look after you. I was too tired to fight. Later that night, as they tucked me into a small guest room with blush pink curtains and a twin bed, I asked about my boxes, my records, my journals. Joylene said, We stored them, Mama. That was the moment I should have sat up and said no, loud. But I was still cloudy inside. Pain messes with your instinct. Betrayal moves slow, like syrup before the boil. They brought me tea the first 3 nights, lavender and honey. It tasted too perfect. I watched their eyes every time I took a sip. Too hopeful, too watchful. On the 4th night, I didn't drink it. Waited an hour. Opened the guest room door quiet and slow. heard their voices through the kitchen wall. She didn't ask about the paperwork. That was Joylene, low, fatigued. Well, if she remembers, we deal with it then. But right now, you just keep her calm. Keep her soft. Marcus again. Keep me soft. That night, I started hiding my teacup under the bed. I switched the cup once, emptied it into the plant pot. 2 hours later, I heard Joylene say, "She seems out of it. Maybe it's memory loss after all." Oh yes, baby, the performance was working. The next week, they brought in a woman named Carla. "A wellness visitor," Joylene said, plastering on that stiff professional smile. Carla was well-dressed, freshly curled hair, a tan blazer that didn't match her shoes. She had a clipboard. Every question felt too light. "What year is it, Ms. Hatcher? Who is the president? Where do you think you are?" I answered two correctly. Missed one on purpose. Watched them mark something on the clipboard that made my stomach twist. She was gone within 20 minutes. Joylene said it was a new type of home care. Marcus slipped a yellow envelope into his coat the same afternoon. Thought I didn't see. I started counting. 5 visits from strangers in 2 weeks. All women with clipboards. All smiling just a bit too hard. All walking out looking satisfied. I finally asked Ania one night, while we folded socks on her bedroom floor under the crackle of a too loud candle, "Baby, you seen any mail with my name on it?" She nodded. "Joylene took it. She said she was going through it so you didn't get overwhelmed. She said paperwork's scary for your brain right now." Scary to my brain. Let me tell you something. My brain survived childbirth, buried a man, paid off the house in the middle of a recession. My brain went through every one of Marcus's failures like a rock, silent and strong. Now all of a sudden it couldn't sort mail? So I tested it, left a letter out one night on the coffee table. Just a coupon for Walgreens. Nothing risky. It was gone by morning. The tea kept coming. Different flavors now. Chamomile, mint. Once even ginseng, but nearly every cup poured by someone else. And I saw it. The slivers of crushed pill, small enough to disappear in sugar. But I saw. I stopped drinking. I picked a floral mug, one that was already chipped, kept it private, washed it myself in the bathroom sink like I was a teenage girl hiding contraband from her mama. And every night that I didn't sip from their cups, I remembered more. The day they took me to the hospital, Marcus told me I'd fallen down the basement stairs. Said he heard me yell from the kitchen, that I was alone, that EMS found me face down, bleeding from my temple. Thing is, I haven't gone down in that damn basement since 2019. I've been scared of those uneven wooden steps since the time I twisted my ankle on one. So unless I sleepwalked, something didn't line up. Joylene had 2 life insurance brochures sitting open in the kitchen drawer one day. She slammed it shut when I asked for a spoon. "Nothing, Mama," she said cheerful. "Cooking ideas. Life insurance cooking." All right. Then came the night I overheard them in the hallway. They didn't know I was close. Didn't know the guest room door was cracked. Marcus was upset, for once. "She's acting." "No, she's not," Joylene said. "Mama barely remembers what county she's in." "You sure? Yesterday she asked about the trust, the one Daddy left." Joylene sounded tired then. "Even if she does remember, it's too late. We filed the emergency." "It didn't go through yet, did it?" A pause. "Court dates in 2 weeks. Carla's notes helped. Everything's filed. Once the judge signs off, we can transfer the rest." The rest? Not her house, not her things. The rest? That night, I packed a small drawer full of proof. Little things. An old prescription bottle I labeled myself. My own notes tucked in my bra, counting the times they dosed the tea. Old video on my flip phone of Marcus unlocking my bedroom door with a key I never gave him. Little puzzle pieces, all fitting together. I didn't know the full picture yet, but it was forming. The one part nobody could fake? Dignity. And they stripped it from me one corner at a time. But baby, I was taping it back together, slow and quiet. The final straw? It came on a Tuesday night. Marcus had one too many drinks, bourbon on his breath. Joylene gone to her friends after Bible study. He came into the living room where I watched Ania draw. He looked at me like I was a chair, something you sit in or replace. "You remember your account password, Mama?" he asked, lazy-like. "No," I said. He smiled way too wide. Right, he said, just checking. Then he went for my purse. Didn't even stop walking. Didn't even act like he was asking, just reached for it like it was part of the table. Ania stood up. You don't gotta do that, Uncle Marcus, she said. He blinked at her. What? She don't like folks touching her purse. He narrowed his eyes, watched her too long. She don't even know what's in it, he murmured. But he left the room. Ania sat back down, crayon shaking. I said nothing. But inside me, baby, I was flipping the page. Because no matter what memory they thought I'd lost, I never forgot how to fight. The first crack came on a Thursday, but it didn't sound like breaking. It sounded like laughter. I was in the living room folding blankets when I heard Joylene laugh from the kitchen. It wasn't her usual polite mama chuckle. It was deep, full, relieved. Laughter like somebody just got told they were safe. I told you she wasn't sharp enough, Joylene said, around that gleeful little gasp people let out when they relax too soon. You did, Marcus replied. I knew to move slow, keep light on my feet. I eased up behind the corner wall where the living room ended and kitchen began. She don't know what year it is. Can't even finish the paper puzzles Ania gave her, Joylene said. Marcus poured something. I heard clinking. All the meds help. You've been keeping the dosage low enough to keep her off-center without knocking her out. My stomach knotted tight. She was still dosing me. Got it. She keep that blank look during the eval. We're good, Marcus said. What if she fights during court? She won't, Marcus said, because she truly believes she forgot everything. She really thinks she's slipping and just doesn't want to say nothing. Joylene laughed again, real hard this time. Oh Lord, Marcus, I swear. I didn't expect Mama to go soft this soon, but she's slippin'. She lowered her voice. Goin' feel a whole lot softer when that house deed goes through and we got power of attorney to move the rest of it. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just manipulation or quiet betrayal. This was strategy. And baby, I'd been asleep too long in a war zone. The next morning, I made sure to move a little slower, blink a little longer at the toaster like it confused me. And Marcus, fool that he is, walked past me like a man halfway to victory. He spilled it himself that afternoon. Joylene was out, picking up her court massage outfit, Lord help her, and Marcus came in from the front porch on his cell phone. I was sitting by the window. He didn't see me at first. No, she don't remember a thing, bro. Not even the password to her old banking app. She asked me the other night like it was her login. He chuckled. Nah, man, the trust is still locked, but we just need that judge's stamp. Once they declare her mentally compromised, checkmate. I turned my head real slow, just enough for him to almost catch me. Thought I heard someone outside, I said. His body jumped just a hair. He turned, grin rehearsed. Just chatting with a buddy from college, you all right? Mm-hmm, I said sweetly. Do we have any of that chamomile you've been giving me? He smiled wider. I'll fix you some, Ma. I watched him walk away, phone still shining on the counter. He left it unlocked. My hands didn't shake, not one bit. You know what was on that thing? Photos. One in particular made my stomach hit the floor. It was a screenshot of a text from Marcus to someone named Realtor C. Harris. The message said, Private sale, elder not capable of signing, POA filed already, will handle her gracefully. That night I waited until everyone was asleep. I got up, soft as snowfall, and limped into Anaya's room. The girl was still mostly awake. She blinked when she saw me. Mama, she whispered. She hadn't called me that in weeks. But that night, it came out automatic. I need your help, baby. She nodded before I could finish. We snuck into the hallway closet, that locked file drawer they thought I'd forgotten about. But I hadn't. I remembered where the key was hidden long before they'd updated the house. Bingo. The second folder was labeled Financial Holdings, O.M. Hatcher. Inside it, printouts, legal letters, a transfer sheet, something called Preemptive Power of Attorney via Comprehension Waiver Form. Ghost words hit me like bricks. A document with a signature that was not mine. J, and then a date. It was 3 days after I left the hospital. Joylene's signature right beside it marked caretaker. Below, a stamped seal. The judge. The one from Joylene's sorority group. It was all lined up like a puzzle I hadn't been meant to finish. But baby, I wasn't just finishing it. I was correcting it. That morning I made sure to spill my tea. I forgot how hot this tea gets, I said, wiping fake confusion from my lips. Joylene was satisfied. Marcus patted my hand. They had no idea. That evening, I staged it. Light was low, mid-sunset. The kitchen caught orange streaks across the checkered tile. I chose that lighting on purpose. I asked to go through old photo albums. Joylene brought them, smiling like a child passing the test. I flipped pages fake heavy, pointing at old faded Valentine's days, family reunions no one remembered fondly. Then I said it. This one's nice. Shame the rest was such a lie. Joylene froze. What's that, Mama? This one, I repeated, tapping a photo of my own birthday. It was right before you started calling the court behind my back, right? Before Marcus filed that lie about me forgetting how to cook? They didn't move. My favorite was that email from the realtor. Private elder transfer, wasn't it? We'll handle her gracefully? That's fancy talk for we gon' rob her quietly, isn't it? They blinked. Marcus closed the folder. Oh, Mama, someone's a little confused tonight, huh? I stood up. That chip in my knee didn't ache this time. My posture did not falter. You should have whispered, baby. The walls talk, phones screenshot, and your poor passwords. Truly tragic. Joylene's jaw started to lock. That laptop had a PIN 4 digits long, I said. And honey, I raised you. That password didn't stand a chance. Ania stood behind me by then. Quiet backup. Not scared this time. The look on their faces? Like a church lady just swore in public. All hell, no him. Joylene stood slowly. Mama, I don't know what confusion you're mixing up, but... Oh, hush, I said. Just like that. Voice low. Fire packed in velvet. You lied. You both lied. Dosing me, forging, sitting at my table, in my home. Marcus tried to jump in. Look, we were just trying to... No, you were trying to bury me before I was dead. I looked at Joylene. And you? I whispered. Your daddy left that deed in trust. You tried to erase it. Joylene's mouth opened, closed. And then it happened. She cracked. Oh my God, Joylene hissed. It was supposed to be easy, Mama. Marcus flinched. She went on. You were slipping. We helped you. Do you know how long I've taken care of this family while you laid up in your mess? You were weak. It would have been better if you forgot. Marcus tried to shush her. I wrote that letter, she barked. I filed the docs. Marcus barely did anything but sign papers and complain. Silence. Thick. Now you know, she said, voice breaking. I looked at Marcus. That true? He didn't speak, which means we both had an answer. I reached into my purse, pulled out a small black square. A recorder. Old basic, but clear. Joylene opened her mouth. First denial, then a choking silent shout. I clicked play. Her voice. It would have been better if you forgot. Ania stood taller. I turned to them both. Now I'm done playing. I let them sit in it. Didn't yell, didn't cry. Just stood there with that little black recorder in my hand. Thumb on the stop button, Ania behind me, and 2 grown adults frozen like children caught stealing. Joylene dropped into a chair like gravity hit her harder than guilt. Marcus stood stiff, like if he kept still enough, maybe the consequences wouldn't see him. But baby, karma's got better aim than a mirror. I tapped the recorder twice, slipped it back into my purse. I spoke to a lawyer last week, I said, smooth and sweet. Didn't think I'd need her so soon, but here we are. Joylene blinked. You called a... Yes, I cut her off. Kept it quiet, just in case I remembered enough. Now I raised my voice just enough to carry through the house, just enough to make Marcus flinch. And funny thing, when people start gaslighting old women into guardianship court for money they ain't earned, lawyers get real interested. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. He swallowed hard, because he knew. He didn't stop Joylene, and now the silence he kept was a weapon that turned. You were planning to take everything, I said, pacing slow around the kitchen island, little by little, while smiling in my face, talking to judges, faking doctor consultations, drugging me quiet. Joylene finally found her voice. We thought you'd want to be protected. You weren't present, Mama, at first. I turned fast. I was injured. I was drugged. I trusted you. I gave you everything and you sold me for dust. She stood, tears rising now, not from guilt but panic. It wasn't like that. No? I asked. Then why'd you forge my signature? Why'd you have Marcus text a stranger about handling me gracefully? Why'd you whisper while I sipped tea laced with pills you can't even pronounce? The silence hit hard. Ania fidgeted. She shouldn't have seen this, but in a way she needed to. She needed to remember what paying attention looks like. "I'll have the court documents rescinded," Joylene said finally. "We'll tell them it was all a miscommunication." "Too late," I said. "You only tell the truth when the lie fails." She reached out like a touch could undo what had been said. But I stepped back. "You don't get to set the table now, baby. I see the chairs just fine." I left them there, wilted by the weight of guilt's reflection. Back upstairs, I made the call. "Brenda Whitfield, Family Law Division, Hines and Crest. This is Brenda." Her voice came through the speaker like polished steel. "This is Ora Mae Hatcher," I said. A pause. She remembered. "My file's still open." "I've remembered," I told her, "and I'm ready to proceed." She took a deep breath. "Ms. Hatcher, what you're describing is grounds for fraudulent guardianship and elder financial coercion." "Mm-hmm. I'll need you to come into our office with any documents. And I'd like a counselor present for records, not to question your mental fitness, but to record how sharp you really are." "Good," I said. "Bring a notepad." I hung up. I didn't cry. I changed my clothes, slipped on that emerald green blouse with the gold cuffs. Not a color I wear often, too bold. But that day, I needed to look like proof. Hair up in a tight twist, gold earrings, low-heel shoes polished low and quiet. Marcus and Joylene didn't speak when I walked out the front door, but they heard it close. 3 days later, I walked into Brenda Whitfield's office with a leather-bound folder. She greeted me with a look I'd seen too many times lately, surprised respect, like realizing your house cat has been a tiger this whole time. Across her desk sat 2 others, court representatives, one social worker, one paralegal wearing glasses somewhere between suspicion and apology. Brenda gestured to the chair. I sat. "Ms. Hatcher," the paralegal began, "we'd like to begin with a basic evaluation." I smiled, cool, controlled. "You ready to be wrong?" I asked. They nodded. The test was only 15 minutes. Common questions, memory checks. But see, they didn't know I'd been relearning my whole damn heart for a month. I'd practiced birthdays, recalled numbers, filed names. Not because I'm broken, but because repetition ain't just for classrooms. It's for warfare. Brenda beamed when I finished. She's not only lucid, she's filing for full restoration of mental trust and the rescinding of imposed legal actions under false pretenses. "Absolutely," I said. "And then?" "I'm filing to evict both of them from my home where they've been illegally living." The room went still. "You have proof they were attempting to sell the house?" the rep asked. "The proof is dated, time-stamped, and backed up to a Google Drive file Ania helped me make," I said. That turned her eyebrows high. I reached into my purse, set the file on the desk. Let the games begin. The papers moved fast once Brenda put her hands on them. Emergency counterfile, recorder submission, exhibits referencing notarized documents, half of which had sloppy errors Marcus made in his rush to cash out. 2 weeks later, I returned to court. Different than family court, more tense, more polished. The courtroom smelled like wax paper and faint sweat. Marcus showed up in a tan jacket that looked new. Too clean, too try-hard. Joylene wore beige. Her blouse had pearls on it, like dressing like a daughter of the church could save her. They sat together but didn't speak. Their lawyer was cheap and bitter. "Ours? Brenda." Brenda didn't smile. She presented everything like math. "And baby, betrayal works best as numbers. Here's how they tried to sell the home. Here's how they accessed private insurance records. Here's the digital detox logs from the hospital meds they gave her. And here's a voicemail Joylene left her cousin not knowing the cousin still had loyalty to Ora Mae. I swear to God, if Mama remembers, we'll have to lock it all down again." The judge looked stunned cold. "This feels like attempted misappropriation of estate assets under the assumption of mental incompetency, filed in bad faith," the judge said. Brenda nodded once. I was dismissed. Not out of court, but out of uncertainty. The judge restored my full legal autonomy. Eviction was approved pending 30 days. Power of attorney? Cancelled. Health proxy? Removed. My life had been stolen, rerouted, managed. Now it was mine again. When I turned to Joylene, she couldn't face me. And Marcus, he left before the ruling was finished. Someone asked me later that night if I would forgive them. Forgive? Baby, I gave birth to one and raised the other. That's not something you write off like a bad debt. But I will say this. I will never raise my voice at a dinner table again, begging to be heard. Because now, just me sitting there is loud enough. 3 weeks after the judgment and the courtroom hush, I found myself sitting on my own porch again. My porch. The chipped white railing, the worn swing with the cracked cushion I meant to fix last fall. None of it had changed. But everything else had. The air was clearer, the silence softer. When you survive betrayal, you don't go looking for noise. You sit in the kind of quiet that feels like you made it. Anya was watching cartoons through an open screen door. She didn't ask about Marcus. She hadn't said his name once since the eviction. I looked down at my lap. A cup of peppermint tea warmed cold hands. Jewelry simple. White blouse folded neat. My hair that morning was in a low knot, wrapped in soft brown silk. They always said I looked best in white. It wasn't a color of surrender. It was a color of restart. Joylene left 48 hours after the ruling. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't leave a note. She packed in silence while I sat on the porch with my tea and my thoughts. I didn't chase her. Didn't wish her harm. But I also didn't let her leave with my forgiveness either. Marcus didn't try to return. Didn't call. Didn't write. And that was merciful. What surprised me the most was what I didn't feel. I wasn't angry. Not deeply. Maybe because I saw how small they'd made themselves, trying to shrink someone else. I'd already outlived every version of myself they thought they could manage. And baby, the freedom of that? It's lighter than you can imagine. A lawyer from Brenda's firm called me about the house 2 Mondays later. "You've got full authority now, Ms. Hatcher," he said. "What would you like to do with the deed?" I smiled. "I'd like it notarized in Ania's name," I said, bold and warm. Silence, a breath. "But she's just a child." "And one day," I replied, "she won't be. And when that day comes, I want her walking through her own door, not begging for one from anybody else." It was my quiet promise, to never let a child I loved grow up thinking love was control. I made copy after copy of that new document. I kept one in a safe, gave another to Brenda, and handed the final printed copy to Ania in a frame. She read it once, twice, her fingers trembling as she held the paper. "This is mine," she said. "No, but it will be," I nodded, "because you saw what they did. You saw me remember. And baby, the way you watched, that saved my life." She hugged me so tight I had to steady my breath. Later that night, she placed the document right next to her bookshelf, lined with journals. The next morning, she told me she wanted to write our story down. I made her pancakes with strawberry syrup and bacon just the way I used to. She kept watching me, watching to see if I'd disappear again. But I was there, whole, and hers. One day I walked into my room and found a stack of opened mail from Joylene's storage bin. I went through it slow, sacred, like prayer. Inside one torn envelope, a letter I wrote to myself, months before the fall. Handwritten, folded with intention. My own words said, "If you ever forget who you are, read this. You are not disposable. You are not fragile. You are not something to be filed down. You carry the truth in your bones. Walk back into your name." I folded it again and pressed it into my bra like armor. Every time I stand in this kitchen now, or rinse a dish beneath still water, or light a candle before sleep, I let my breath steady into a knowing rhythm. They didn't win. Not the doctors who doubted, not the lawyer who lied, not the daughter who framed her betrayal as compassion, and certainly not the son who sold his mother for a deed. Because I remembered. I let them say she's slipping. I let them serve comfort with a spoonful of poison. I let them underestimate the truth. And then I turned memory into a weapon and silence into a sword. These days I keep my locks changed, not out of fear, but because I get to choose who walks through my doors now. Ania asked me once, just softly across the dinner table, "How did you know they were lying?" And I said, "Because people who tell the truth don't need to keep explaining it to you every week." We laughed, our kind of laughter, not performance, just peace. I've told a lot of stories where grandmamas turn keys, where wives take names back, where mothers hold lines their children thought they forgot how to draw. But this one's personal, because remembering who you are after they tried to erase you is holy work. It's fierce grace. And if you've ever had to fake your softness just to stay safe, then you already know the most powerful line in this story. I pretended to forget everything, and that's when they finally told me the truth. And baby, I never forgot a thing. If you made it this far, you already know. This channel ain't just for drama. It's for healing with fire on your tongue. I tell real stories like this one right here. And if you ever had to stay quiet just to survive them, go ahead and subscribe to Tales of Ora Mae. Now tell me below, what truth did they not want you to remember?